Is vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-infrastructure more of a priority than Wi-Fi for web data and video? Or is that not the real issue, but sharing the airwaves for connected vehicles for potential life-saving crash avoidance systems and Wi-Fi enabled services in your car a far better solution? Here to tell us much more about this issue in the connected car space is Harry Lightsey. He's Executive Director of Global Connected Customer Experience. That's at the Global Public Policy Office at General Motors. And Harry, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. In case that introduction really wasn't clear, let's sort of tee up the issue. The issue is the automaker industry sector was assigned a certain band or bands of spectrum years ago to eventually now connect their vehicles to one another and connect those vehicles to infrastructure as well. Now we have tech companies, some companies are even members of TIA, that want to use the same radio airwaves for their own launched services within the vehicle as well. Is that really, in a nutshell, the issue?
Yeah, that is the issue. So, as you indicated, the FCC dedicated this band of airwaves to the public safety mission of the connected vehicle space years ago. And the auto industry, along with the traffic safety agencies of the federal government and state agencies as well, have been working ever since to realize the promise that could be created by this technology.
Let's take us back, and you just did a little bit, let's take us back a little bit during that initial assignment of radio spectrum for the automakers years ago, like I mentioned, and the growing interest from technology companies to use the same airwaves.
Well, certainly as time has gone on and broadband has expanded, interest in spectrum across the board is certainly increased. And we certainly understand that spectrum is a scarce resource. And if the spectrum can be shared so that both the Wi-Fi users can use it and we can use it for the automobile V2V technology that is so promising with regard to safety, if it can be shared and it doesn't impact the safety critical mission of the automobile technology, we're certainly open to doing that.
Let's talk about that impact for a second. So a company like Google promises fully automated vehicles, but let's say by 2020, that's their forecast. How does that impact a company like General Motors and your ability to connect your vehicles for collision hazard, for improved road safety, and maybe high-speed, hands-free driving?
Well, so the Google technology is independent of the vehicle-to-vehicle technology. Although vehicle-to-vehicle technology could be incorporated into autonomous driving, I think it brings another layer, if you will, of awareness that vehicles could use in order to eventually drive themselves. So General Motors has announced, and is the only automobile manufacturer to announce, that we'll be deploying vehicles with this V2V technology as soon as next year with our Cadillac CTS. So this is technology that's coming and coming fast. We're very pleased with the progress to date. Secretary Anthony Fox of the Department of Transportation has announced that they are going to accelerate their plans to move this technology toward deployment, and we're certainly pleased with that.
Keeping in mind, Harry, that TIA represents both tech companies and some of the automakers now as well, what's the feasibility of spectrum sharing between the Wi-Fi users and the automakers?
Well, we certainly feel that there are promising technologies that are out there that could be used to share the spectrum. And that's why we've consistently said we're open to doing so, provided that the safety critical mission of the V2V technology is protected. So the short version is V2V is certainly a game-changing type of technology. The National Highway Traffic Safety Agency, NHTSA, has estimated it could impact 80% of the crashes on the road today and could create savings to our economy of $871 billion a year just in terms of that. And if you think in terms of just thousands of lives being saved every year, the potential for that is certainly very important. But on the other hand, spectrum is a scarce resource, and we understand that. And if we can come up with a technology that allows us to share that spectrum to create more Wi-Fi broadband that doesn't interfere with the V2V technology, we're open to doing that.
Harry, dedicated short-range communications, that's DSRC. The Department of Transportation is ramping up their efforts in that area. Why is that?
Well, because,
or are they?
Yes, so DSRC is the radio technology that underlies the vehicle-to-vehicle communications. And that is the technology that we've invested a lot of time and money in bringing to the point where we're getting to the market. And so if you look at that technology, it is a short range, as certainly the name says, but it allows vehicles to talk to each other within a range of about 1,000 yards. They send out a message 10 times every second so that they know exactly where each other are. And so then they can use that information to avoid collisions and crashes from happening. And that's why we think that the safety critical mission of the technology needs to be preserved, because when you're talking about vehicles traveling on the road with human beings in them, the safety of those human beings is very important. Those vehicles need to communicate in a way that is not interfered with by any extraneous issues.
How does the Wi-Fi Innovation Act make this conversation relevant right now?
Well, so the Wi-Fi Innovation Act was filed earlier this year, and it called for testing of the spectrum at issue to see if there was if sharing was possible. So the Wi-Fi Innovation Act was filed as indicated, but the various stakeholders were able to come together on their own and agree to a testing protocol to be overseen by the FCC technical staff in consultation with the Department of Transportation, and for that testing to occur in 2016. So we're very pleased that we were all able to come together and avoid the need for any legislative action on the issue, and we look forward to moving ahead rapidly with the testing. As we said, we feel that there are promising solutions that are out there for spectrum sharing, and we're anxious to see those solutions tested to see if, as we believe, there's a way for it to work, and then everyone can move ahead.
So if someone were to say that the Wi-Fi Innovation Act pertaining to this issue is in limbo, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we are. The stakeholders came together and agreed to this testing protocol, as I referenced, and then the policymakers, including Chairman Thune of the Senate Commerce Committee, and both of the sponsors of the Wi-Fi Innovation Act, Senators Rubio and Senator Booker, signed letters to the FCC indicating that we were all agreeable to moving ahead with this testing protocol. So while that is happening, we do not foresee any need for any legislative activity on the bill.
So I don't know, maybe I didn't hear you right before, but so the FCC can or cannot make a decision on spectrum sharing in lieu of the Wi-Fi Innovation Act getting finalized?
Well, we believe that the FCC can make the decision with regard to spectrum sharing. It depends on the type of solution that they decide is possible, whether or not they can do that under the rubric of the current proceedings that they have underway, or whether they have to start any new proceedings. What we're for is quickly resolving this so we can all move ahead. We feel that we are ready to begin deployment of V2V technology. As we've indicated, GM is committed to doing that within the next year. And so we want any questions about that to be resolved so that as we make these decisions to deploy this technology and put the capital to work to do that, we have the certainty that we know that this system will be
available
down the road.
Harry, is there anything specifically by maybe industry or government, the FCC, or your colleagues that we can do in order to expedite this process a little bit?
Well, I think we certainly look to the Wi-Fi community and the members of TIA that are engaged in providing equipment to the Wi-Fi community to present viable spectrum sharing technologies to us. We certainly, the automobile industry is not in the Wi-Fi broadband business. We respect the technical expertise that resides within the Wi-Fi community, and we look for them to bring hardware to the table that we can test to see if it can work and that we can share the spectrum in a way that preserves the safety critical mission of the vehicle-to-vehicle technology.
And Harry, it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
It definitely will.